Today I'm going to be teaching you about the vehicle cargo business in Grand Theft Auto Online, how it works, how much money you can make, how much it costs to set up, and most importantly, if it is worth your time and money to even get into this business this late in the game. If you enjoyed the video or learned something, consider dropping a like and also consider subscribing if you're new. With that said, let's get started. Vehicle cargo is one of the oldest businesses in the entire game. It came out in December of 2016, and since release it has been updated one single time, and the update didn't exactly do enough in order to modernize the business, at least not in the same way that Rockstar gave CEO Cargo, the hangar, the MC businesses, and the bunker modernization upgrades. Vehicle cargo is available through owning a CEO office. However, the vehicle cargo menu is also able to be accessed through a master control terminal, but you do have to own the CEO office in order to actually purchase a warehouse, so it is going to be essential to own. Now, to get started with the business, you will need to buy a vehicle cargo warehouse, and there are many available, but if you're watching this video between March 12th and 18th, 2026, you can get the LSIA Vehicle Cargo Warehouse for free. So do that if you're watching this video early. Next up, we got to talk about warehouse location and which ones are going to be the best. Now, sadly, I'm guessing that if you're watching this video, it's pretty likely that you're not here during the time frame that I just mentioned. So you will need to be buying a vehicle cargo warehouse, and luckily I have the best ones that you should purchase. Naturally, you would maybe consider the La Mesa location as it's the cheapest. However, this one is also the most dangerous because of this reason. If you play in public sessions and you are sourcing cars in public sessions, this location is the most likely out of all of them to get camped by griefers who are trying to take you out and then take your car for themselves into their vehicle cargo warehouse, meaning that that car is then theirs to sell at a later date. So for this reason alone, I really don't recommend La Mesa, but also for another reason that we'll get into later, it's not very ideal. Now, I would personally recommend spending the extra money for the locations that I'm going to be recommending, and I'm going to also explain why each location is good. Recommendation number one is going to be the LSIA Vehicle Warehouse. Now, there are two with the exact same name. One is free this week, and the other one will cost you $2,300,000. The one that costs $2,300,000 is the one that I am talking about specifically, and there are a couple of reasons for this. One, you're extremely unlikely to get camped here the same way you would be at the La Mesa location. The second reason is that there is a large area big enough to land a DH7 Iron Mule outside of it. We'll talk about the reasoning for this later, but you can also call the mechanic and your personal vehicles will show up right outside of the warehouse. Plus, it's close to the major highways, so getting the vehicles here is going to be nice and easy. Now, my second recommendation is going to be the La Puerta Vehicle Warehouse. This is the location I own, and it's the most expensive location in the entire game. And the reasons that I recommended the last location are pretty much the same with this one. The only real difference is that La Puerta is closer to the highway and it has more room outside of it to land DH7 Iron Mules. Now, it does come at a bit of an extra cost, so depending on your budget, you may want to consider LSIA Vehicle Warehouse versus the La Puerta Vehicle Warehouse. Next up, we got to talk about our vehicle sourcing strategy. Now, once you've picked a warehouse, it's time to start sourcing cars, and these sourcing missions can be launched from a master control terminal, the CEO office, or through the terabyte computer that's in the terabyte by default. So you do not need a master control terminal in your terabyte. Now, I would recommend for vehicle cargo that you own a terabyte. It's going to make things a lot more efficient. It does not have to have the master control terminal, but if it does, that's great too. I would recommend taking your terabyte and parking it directly outside of your vehicle cargo warehouse, somewhere extremely close by, and this is going to eliminate a lot of downtime when it comes to sourcing cars, although there is a cooldown between sourcing missions, so keep that in mind still. Now, there are 32 total vehicles that can be sourced, and your warehouse can hold up to 40 vehicles. So you may get duplicates of some of the lower end or higher end vehicles, but that's good. Now, out of those 32 total cars, 12 of them are going to be high end vehicles, with the other 20 being broken up into 10 low end and 10 medium end cars. Now, the goal here is going to be to source all 20 of the low and medium end vehicles, and you are never going to sell these. This will guarantee that you can only ever source those high-end vehicles once you've acquired all the trash. Now, these high-end cars will fetch the best payouts, so those are the ones we're going to be selling and then resourcing repeatedly, and that's how you're going to maximize your profits with this business. Now, when it comes to actually sourcing vehicles, there are 15 different vehicle cargo sourcing missions that are possible to get. They range from stealing cars from movie sets and gang members to stealing cars that are actively being pursued by the police, and there are many other missions as well. Now, when sourcing these vehicles, you need to keep in mind that damage done to the cars will be directly lost from your profit margins because you will be forced to incur the cost of repairing the vehicles as soon as they are delivered to the warehouse. So keeping the cars safe is going to be fairly important. To begin these missions, you're going to need to go into your Terabyte, like I mentioned, or CEO office or master control terminal, and launching a source mission. Now, once you've begun a source mission and you've gotten to the vehicle and you've stolen it, you'll need to get it back to the warehouse as efficiently as possible, and you're going to want to avoid crashing while driving it back to the warehouse, while also taking the most optimal route, which is probably going to involve highways because they're simply the safest routes with the highest potential for speed. Now, something to note is that I've noticed with vehicle cargo in particular, the NPCs of GTA seem particularly hell-bent on crashing into your vehicles more than they usually are. On some source missions, you'll also be pursued by adversaries. Now, for higher-end cars, there can be up to 4 waves. For medium-tier cars, there can be up to 3 waves of enemies, and for low-tier cars, there can be up to 2 waves of enemies that will chase you. Now, there are also missions where the police will chase you, and for those, I recommend calling Lester. That's going to help the car avoid getting shot up and damaged, which of course you will have to pay for. Now, there is another method when it comes to sourcing, and this is my personal favorite and honestly the most viable option I think we have available in GTA Online, and that's using the DH-7 Iron Mule helicopter to fly to the pickup locations and grab the cars. Now, in some areas, for certain missions, this won't be instantly available to be done. Sometimes the cars will be underneath a rooftop, sometimes there will be tall trees right around the cars, so occasionally you're going to have to land the helicopter, jump out, shoot the enemies, and move the car to a more suitable location before it can be picked up. However, I believe this is completely worth doing because if the car is hooked under the Iron Mule, there's precisely a 0% chance of any cars on the road crashing into the target vehicle when you're on the way back to the warehouse, and this can also save you a lot of time as well because of course you're going as the crow flies rather than having to follow the streets of Los Santos. Just as a quick example, I had a vehicle that spawned in Paleto Bay and it took me less than 6 minutes to land the helicopter, get out, get in the car, move it to a suitable pickup point, then get back in and fly it all the way back to the city. Now, just as an example, without an Iron Mule, this would have easily been a 10+ minute mission. Even if the target car is only 2 miles away, I truly believe the Iron Mule will speed up your source, and it will certainly also protect the car more so than you driving it along the road. Now, if you end up using an Iron Mule, you're going to want to fly the car back to the warehouse, and just outside, try to set it down so that it lands on all 4 wheels. As long as it lands on the wheels first, it will not get damaged and you will not lose any money. However, if you don't have one, you should really consider if purchasing one will benefit you or not. And in case you're wondering, the Iron Mule is going to cost $1,758,750 or $2,345,000, depending on if you have the trade price or not. Now, again, if you also want to know more about the Iron Mule before you decide to take that leap of faith and buy one, I'll leave my link to my full guide on the Iron Mule in the description so you know everything it's capable of lifting as far as sale missions go and things like that. Now, I'm sure that inevitably some of you are going to be asking about the Cargo Bob, and I would say you definitely can use it, but honestly, I don't really think it's going to be faster than driving in a lot of scenarios. And additionally, the rope of the Cargo Bob's hook is so short that it makes getting access to the car that you're trying to source a much bigger issue in a lot of areas compared to the Iron Mule. Next up, before we talk about selling, we got to talk about the collections and the bonuses associated with those. Collections are an aspect of vehicle cargo that a lot of people forget about, and honestly, there's some good reasoning for that, because selling vehicles as a collection can net you a nice bonus of up to $50,000 for selling them as a package, but there are a couple of issues to be aware of with this, so let's get into them. Now, each vehicle is going to require a driver, so if you play solo, you're already out of luck and collections are going to be useless to you. However, we also have the fact that selling as a collection a lot of the time will include vehicles of different value. For example, some collections want one low-end vehicle, a medium-end vehicle, and a high-end vehicle. Now, this means that when you go to start sourcing these vehicles to replace them again, you're going to have to work through those low-end vehicles once more, making sourcing the high-end vehicles potentially take a lot longer. Now, there are 2 collections to be aware of that contain only top-level vehicles, so if you have these, I would recommend doing it if you have a friend to help out with. Those collections are the J. Norris collection. For completing this one, which is 3 high-end vehicles, you will get a $35,000 bonus. We also have the Sultan of Amir collection, and this is 2 vehicles and will give you a $20,000 bonus. So these can be great if you have enough players to sell all the vehicles with, and if all the vehicles in the collection are high-end. If those things both align, then I would say absolutely you should do this. However, those circumstances are somewhat unlikely, so I would recommend just selling one high-end vehicle at a time if you're a solo player, or multiple high-end vehicles at a time if you have some friends to help out. Now, when it comes to selling vehicles, all of the following information is going to apply as if you're selling solo or with associates to help you out. So as we've discussed, we're only going to be selling those high-end vehicles, and we're going to do that repeatedly and never ever sell the low-end or the medium-end vehicles, as this is the most efficient way of going about this business. When you choose a car to export, always select the highest payment option, which is going to be the bottom one. This should pay you $100,000 upon delivery per car you deliver. Now, there's going to be a fee associated with the sale, which is going to knock off some money, and it's under the guise of having to customize the car for a customer before shipping it. You'll then have to change some options on the vehicles. For this, just select the fastest thing you can possibly do. It doesn't really matter, and then you will spawn outside. Now, these cars do have the ability to give a high demand bonus if you sell in public sessions or crew sessions, and the high demand bonus can be up to 50% more money per vehicle you sell. So I recommend trying to sell in crew sessions for the additional safety you'll get from selling in those, as opposed to public sessions. Now, if you're looking for a crew to do this with, my Discord server has guides to join our crews to help out with this if you are interested in it. Now, when it comes to selling vehicles, there are a few things to note. You will get a 1-minute signal jammer that will prevent other players in the session from seeing that you're moving vehicle cargo, which is very nice. However, on your way to getting the cars to a drop-off point, there will be enemies that will pursue you, shoot at your car, crash into you, and they will not let you get away easily, and they will try to cause as much damage to your vehicle as they possibly can, so that you'll hopefully lose out on a bunch of money, as far as they're concerned. Now, there is a way to avoid the enemies coming after you, and that's by having another player in an invite-only session with you, however, not in your CEO. However, this obviously means you're losing out on the high demand bonus, which therefore isn't going to make you any additional money. However, something good to note is that, like with sourcing, you can use the Iron Mule for selling as well. And this is absolutely the best way to do these missions, in my opinion. It will avoid the entire possibility of your cars getting beat up and shot at by the pursuing adversaries that come after you during most sale missions. Additionally, it will also speed up the time to get the vehicle to the drop-off, and if you have a missile lock-on jammer on your Iron Mule, the chances of getting blown up decrease even further. Due to the lock-on jammer existing for the Iron Mule, selling in public sessions using the Mule honestly isn't terribly unsafe. By the time the global signal jammer expires, you can be well on your way to the drop-off point, hopefully completely unnoticed. So the big question, how much money can you make? Now, of course, we've saved the best for last. How much money can you make with vehicle cargo? Now, these prices that we're going to talk about are assuming you're going to be attempting to sell in lobbies that pay a high demand bonus. If you're not, take off 50% of each of these amounts. If you're a solo player, you're pretty much going to be hard capped at making $150,000 per vehicle with a 20-minute cooldown between sale missions. So in just over an hour, you can make up to $450,000 by yourself. However, if you have one additional player to sell with, you can make up to $300,000 for every 2 vehicles, potentially with a $20,000 bonus if you sell the Sultan of Amir collection. This way, you can make a maximum of $920,000 in just over 1 hour. Now, if you have 2 additional players in order to help you sell, so a total of 3 players, you can make $450,000 per 3 vehicles you deliver, potentially with a $35,000 bonus if you sell the J. Norris collection. With this, you can make up to $1,385,000 in just over 1 hour. Finally, if you have a full CEO with 4 players, you can make up to $600,000 per 4 vehicles. And if you do this 3 times, selling all 12 high-end vehicles, you can make up to $1,800,000 in just over 1 hour. Now, of course, the week this video is going out, vehicle cargo business, the vehicle cargo business is on double money, so these figures are doubled, and they're actually quite good. Even as a solo player selling 3 top-range vehicles this week, you'll make just over $900,000 in just over 1 hour. Now, the real question, is vehicle cargo worth doing in 2026? Honestly, I think it really depends on what vehicles you have access to begin with. Now, if you've got a CEO office, you have a terabyte, and you have an Iron Mule, I think this business genuinely is not that terrible to run if you have the time to put into sourcing all the trash cars to make sure that you then only source and sell the top range cars repeatedly. As a solo player, it's definitely a harder one to make money with, but if you have at least one friend simply on a money per hour basis, this business is not bad. Now, yes, it does take a long time to set up, but you can make some quick cash with it once you've got it optimized correctly. And as somebody who's notoriously hated vehicle cargo ever since it released, after making this guide and spending some more time with the business, I can honestly say I kind of enjoy it, albeit a huge part of that is due to the Iron Mule making things so much more efficient when it comes to sourcing and selling. Plus, the addition of having a terabyte that I can park right outside my warehouse also helps a ton. Since the LSIA location is free this week, if you can get it, I think this is definitely something that players should be trying out. So, there you guys have it. That was the ultimate vehicle cargo guide in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you enjoyed this video, if you learned something, consider dropping a like and subscribing to my channel if you guys are new. I'm gonna have more business guides coming out this year, so stay tuned. And if you want to know anything about any other business in the game, there are links in the description to my other business guides that I've done. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Peace.